Hello, today I'll be coding another WebGL thing. To make things faster, I'll be starting from yesterday's demo without any 3D objects. So what I have is the same scene, camera, render, this size function, which I call on resize, a skeleton of the animation function where I just have the render line and request animation frame. Let's collapse this for now. And this is what I'm doing at the beginning. As you can see, camera, render. So there are no 3D objects. Let's take care of that. So first one is going to be a twist. This is going to be something like a Torus twist made out of a bunch of rings. So it's going to be a group, new 3 group. And then I'm going to have an object where I'm going to store info about my demo. So for example, this twisting Torus thing is going to be made up out of a number of rings, and this number is going to be 32, something like this. Okay, now here I'm going to have a function function build twist, and within this function I'm going to have a loop. I'm going all the way up to the number of rings. Okay, and here I'm going to create, each ring is going to be actually a cylinder. So new 3 mesh, and here I'm going to have a geometry and a material. So new 3 cylinder, and I'm just going to leave it with the defaults for now. Then I'm going to have new 3 okay. Okay, and here I'm going to call my build twist. And then I'm going to have scene add twist. And here, after I've done this, oh no, there, twist add cylinder. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. And just to check. Okay. And that's the mistake I just fixed. So now that I've done this, let's I'm also going to have emissive, and this is why I have this right here. So let's see. I'm going to take this value from here. Now I'm going to want to highlight the edges. So I'm going to have cylinder add. So here I'm going to highlight the edges by adding some line segments. So that's new 3 line segments, and again I'm going to have a geometry and a material. So new 3 line segments, and again I'm going to have a geometry and a material. new 3 edges geometry, new 3 line basic material, and here I'm going to have color. So I'm going to use this this value here, except I'm going to want to make it lighter. So that's going to be something like okay, that works. So now I have my edges highlighted. Now the next thing I want to do is, as you can see, all the cylinders are the default shape and they're positioned right in the middle. So what I want to do is just customize this. So in order to do that, I'm going to set a few more things here. So I'm going to have a number of segments that each ring is made up of, and that's going to be 3. And then I'm going to have a relative gap in between the rings, and this is going to be 0.25. Oh, and speaking of relative stuff, I'm also going to have a few more things. So for the twist, I'm going to have a factor of a rotation. So I don't know what how many times I go around twist factor, and it's going to be 1 initially, and then I'm going to have a twist relative size. Let's say it's going to be something like 0.61. Okay, and now I have the gap here, and one more thing I want to have is the aspect ratio for the segments making up the rings. These are the lateral faces of my cylinders. So aspect ratio for the segments, and this is going to be 4. So the base edge is going to be 4 times bigger than the height of my cylinder. Okay, now next thing I want to do here is fill that object. And here I'm going to have 2 things. So static stuff, and then I'm going to have size relative stuff. So size relative. Okay, so also the size relative, I'm going to recompute it here. Okay, so the static stuff. So first of all, I'm going to have the base angle corresponding to a ring, and this is going to be 2. It's pi over the number of rings. And then I'm also going to have a half this angle, so I don't have to always recompute it. So now I'm going to take these and have the exact same thing for the segments. Okay, now that I've done this, I'm also going to have a base angle for a segment rotation. And this is going to be this angle over the number of rings. So over the number of rings. So this is the static stuff. Also, I'm going to call this function before I build the torus. Before I build a torus twist, whatever. Okay, called that right there. Now for the size relative stuff. So first of all, I'm going to have a minimum dimension. So and this is going to be inner width, inner height. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to do is compute the base edge of my cylinder. Now this is going to be my relative size from here times the minimum times half the minimum, so 0.5 and then at the denominator, come on, I'm going to have two components, so 1 plus 2. Okay, now my first component here is going to be 1 plus the relative gap over, and here I'm going to have the aspect ratio and over the tangent of where did I collapse this? This angle. Okay. Now the second component is going to be 1 plus cosine of half this other angle, so this one, all over sine of the same angle. So I'm just going to copy paste this and just replace with sine. Okay, so I have my base edge. Now the height of my cylinder is going to be just this base edge over the aspect ratio. So this over the aspect ratio. Next, I'm going to compute the circumradius of the cylinder. So this is going to be half the edge length over sine of this angle, so half the base angle corresponding to one segment, and it's going to be pretty similar for the in radius, except here I'm going to have tangent. Okay, and once I've computed these, I can now compute the radius of the circle that the rings are distributed on. But before I do that, just set some values here. So again, here I'm going to have the circumradius. So next I'm going to have the height of my cylinder. Next I'm going to have the number of segments. height segment, I'm just going to have one, and then it's going to be open-ended. Okay. So yeah, this is pretty much. Something else I want here is shininess 5 and side 3 double side. Okay, so actually I can increase this. I'm not going to see an effect until I actually set some lights, but for that a bit later. Okay, so now I have my cylinders, and something else I'm going to want to do is here create a matrix, a 4x4 matrix. New 3 matrix 4. Okay. Now after I've set these edges, I'm going to set apply matrix, and here I'm going to use this sum matrix. Make rotation, and this is going to be z I times okay, so this does something, okay, and chained to it, after it, I'm going to have translation, and here I'm going to have this last thing that I haven't computed yet. So let's compute this, and then 0, 0. So this is going to have two components. So the first component of this is going to be the height of the cylinder modified to include the gap as well over the tangent of half the base angle for the ring plus the inner radius. So I'm going to have half of 1 plus the relative gap for the segment height over tangent of the half angle. So okay, so something's wrong there. So I don't see an error there. So let's see if I add this up. Oh, yeah. Sorry, ring. Okay, now this looks good. Something else I'm going to do is rotate this thing. So twist, rotation x. It's going to be minus pi. Okay, and now I also want to see this a bit from above. Look at, and this is going to be the 0, 0 point, new 3 vector 3 0 0 0. So now I'm seeing things a lot better. Now let's get back here, and I'm going to apply one more transform after this translation. That's going to be another rotation. And as you can see, these are in reverse order. So this is the first one that's applied, this is the second one, and this is going to be the third one that's applied. And here I'm going to have and I'm also going to have I'm going to have it multiplied with the twisting factor. Okay, so now let me show you something. For example, if I have something like 5 segments, it's going to be a bit different. And let's say I have this twisting factor of 7. It's going to look something like this, and I can increase the number up to 64. And as you can see, and let's increase the gap to something like 85.85. And as you can see, I have a bit more of a gap in between them. Now let's get back to what we had initially. Okay, so this is it for building my twisting thing. This is it for fill. Okay, this is all my stuff in there. That's pretty much it. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is add some lights. So I don't really know much about the lighting and stuff like that. So what I'm just going to do is going to be heavily inspired from this other pen I have here open. So it's pretty much what I have right here. So just function add lights. So it's going to be something pretty similar. So here I'm going to have, oops, let's delete that. Let's make it all the same. So I don't think I'm going to manipulate anything later. Okay. Now I'm going to call this function from somewhere. So now you can see I have a bit of lighting right there. And I might tweak this later, but for now just leave it like this. It looks good enough. Next thing that I want to do is add something to the animation. So here I'm going to have the exact same loop that I have here, because I want to animate each and everything. So for this, I'm also going to have current matrix. And here I'm going to get the cylinder, and this is going to be twist children put I, and then I'm going to have the previous matrix clone, because otherwise it's just going to use the live matrix, and that's going to change, so that would mess up things. So what I'm doing here is cylinder matrix identity, so just reset it to the identity matrix. Okay, and once I've reset it to the identity matrix, then I'm just going to apply stuff. Apply matrix, sorry. So the previous one. Okay, and one more thing I want to do here is new 3 matrix 4. Okay, and now I'm going to take this make rotation Y. So this should do it. Just to see, no errors for now. Clean up a bit. Okay, so now what I can do is start the animation and see how it looks. So as you can see, that whole thing is twisting there, and the reason why I'm not why I'm doing this instead of just applying rotation is because it wouldn't work this way, because stuff gets chained, and matrix multiplication isn't commutative, so that's why I'm doing it like this. Now I'm going to do pretty much the same thing for the twist. Well, not exactly, but pretty similar in any case. So I'm just going to do, actually I should have copied it with all that part. So here I'm going to have twist. And again, I'm not going to have the previous thing. So x, and that's going to be minus half of pi, and here make rotation y, and here I'm going to define a time, so which starts at 0. Okay, I can collapse this thing as well, and here I'm going to increment this time okay, and now I have this whole thing rotating as well. So yeah, this is pretty much it, what I wanted to do for today. You're going to find the link to the finished thing in the description below. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments or send them on Twitter, or if you have any suggestions about how to improve this, because I'm just getting started with WebGL and I don't know how to do this kind of stuff. Well, I don't know how to do this kind of stuff, period. In any case, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please consider supporting my work in one of the ways explained in the description below. With a donation, by getting me something off my Amazon wishlist, or at least by sharing this. In any event, thanks for watching.